positive move. So if people have burning questions, or maybe people have burning stomachs and just need to go. Okay, we'll take 2 or 3 questions at a time, or short comments. Okay, and if you can tell us who you are, please.
Can I speak? Okay, this is Bruno Contigiani, member of the Italian non-profit organization, The Art of Slow Living. Don't you mean that the Today conference could be a perfect answer to the permanent European conference beyond GDP? As a non-profit organization, we work and discuss about the correct use of time in every field: work, family, environment. Time for us is real wealth for everyone. To put the attention on this item, we organize every year the Global Day of Slow Living. Next March 9 will be in Tokyo. We mean that the reaction to the economic crisis cannot be a frantic one, or along the same way that drove us to this break point. If governments continue to put the attention on the restart of consumes, they do not understand that it is the same way to get this crisis. We got this crisis, and also maybe that people are going to change their life habits. Today, we can contemporarily think and act globally and locally thanks to the web, collecting and promoting the best practices and experiences developed locally, and I'd say bottom up.
Thank you very much indeed. I think the slow movement has a lot to contribute. But are there other points that people wanted to raise? Any other hands? One right at the very, very back.
Hugh Fraser, National University of Ireland. I'm also the coordinator of the European Union's network of independent experts on social inclusion. I just wanted to really not so much ask a question but reinforce a point that was primarily made, I think, by Helmut Weidner, which is the lack of attention that is given to social justice issues. Just to illustrate that, we've recently analysed the 2008-2010 national action plans on social inclusion. I don't remember any connection made in those plans to environmental issues. There is a complete lack of relationship between the two areas. On a national level, an example of the lack of awareness, I think, from the environmental side of the importance of social inclusion issues is that we have, for the first time, a Green Party in government, and almost one of the first acts that they supported was the abolition of the government's Combat Poverty Agency as an independent voice on social inclusion issues. So they didn't see the connection between social inclusion and environmental issues. And I fear that from all of this, the challenge is that we have to challenge the view up to now has been a trickle-down of economic actions will solve social inclusion. I think there is also a danger with environmental issues that people feel that environmental action will trickle down and benefit social inclusion. It won't be unless social justice is put at the centre politically.
Thank you, even if that was quite embarrassing for me as a member of the same party. Yeah, political movement, yes.
Sorry. I'm Claire Cochrane. I'm from Oxfam's UK Poverty Programme in the UK. I think one of my key questions about the Green Jobs Agenda and the Just Transition is that it's great that trade unions are already working together to think around these issues, but I fear that they somewhat undermine. I think this movement has to start now. We can't just talk about it. It's got to actually start to happen. But I fear that trade unions undermine that when they stick to their existing remit, which is to protect jobs, and all too often that means at any cost protecting jobs in carbon-intensive industries, rather than working now with government and visionary ways to talk about green jobs of the future.
Maybe one more. I know we have somebody from the trade unions on the panel this afternoon. Yes, in the middle, towards the back.
Yes, hi there. It's Paul Sandman from the Federation of Young European Greens. I have just two short questions. First one especially for the researchers. In how far are the youth identified and targeted as a victim of social inequality problems? And in what way are there policies being made to address this issue? And my second question is, I really think that you have a great panel here, but why is there only one female in the panel? And why are there 7 male speakers? Although I really appreciate this panel, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, just remember the woman's in charge. Were there any other comments that people wanted to feed in, and then I'll ask the panel to come back? Yes, sir.
My name is Michael Witzeber from the European Commission. I have just one question. Isn't concerning the hope that the green jobs, will be mainly good jobs, and that we can avoid the bad jobs. In many cases, especially in introducing renewable energies, we have a competitive problem with traditional energies for the time being anyway. So there is a cost problem, and which has to be covered to a large extent by some kind of subsidies, either paid directly by the consumers who are paying for the green electricity, or by public budgets. And so the question is there a trade-off that if we try to avoid bad jobs, that we increase costs, and then we make the introduction of these new energies even more difficult than they are already now?
Right, well, that's a good set of comments and questions. I think we start with ILO, because I think there were a couple that were very much targeted at you.
Thank you, Jim. I guess I'll heed your suggestion and let the unions speak for themselves on the question of how they perceive green jobs and why there are, whether or not there are conflicts of interest with defending carbon-intensive jobs. From our perspective, we see youth very much as one of the groups that desperately needs a different option in the future. Developing countries are struggling, and there's this concern about the rapid rise of emissions in China and in India. But well over 500 million new job seekers will come onto the labor market, even if agriculture in these countries does not implode, and it might, over the next 10 years. So these countries are really with their backs against the wall in terms of creating opportunities for these youth. Otherwise, it becomes a social time bomb. And we see green jobs as one of the options that is very attractive to youth, and that has truly a future. In terms of the cost of renewable energy, yes, it is true that for many of the forms of renewable energy there is a temporarily higher cost of production, and that is being subsidized by the general public, because it's basically distributed over everybody's energy bill. You may want to remark that the health cost, for example, that is